Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Savannah Van Dyne, and I am the treasurer for the Northglenn Youth Commission. For those of you who do not know what the Youth Commission is or what we do, here is a brief explanation. We are a group of students between the ages of 13 and 18 who meet on the first and third Tuesday of every month. We work together to find and solve issues that the youth face in and around the Northglenn community. Tonight, the goal of our meeting is to gain a mutual understanding of what the Youth Commission and City Council expect from each other, as well as how both parties view the importance of youth having a voice in the government. We will start out with a couple introductory questions and then formally begin our meeting with a question. More questions will be thrown in one at a time to help guide the conversation. Tonight's meeting is in honor of Colorado Cities and Towns Week. I'd like to invite Mayor Joyce Downing to read the proclamation.
Thank you. I'd be happy to. This is a proclamation for Colorado Cities and Towns Week. Whereas municipal government is the government closest to most citizens and the one with most direct daily impact upon its residents. And whereas the citizens of Northglenn rely upon local government to deliver services such as clean water, trash and recycling, public safety, transportation, and recreational opportunities, and whereas municipal government is administered for and by its citizens, and it is important to create and encourage a connection with residents to share information about the inner workings of City Hall and the valuable services provided to residents. And whereas City Council recognizes that Colorado Cities and Towns Week promotes civic education and engagement and acknowledges the important role municipal government plays in all of our lives. And whereas the City of Northglenn and other member cities and towns of Colorado's Municipal League have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of projects and events during Colorado Cities and Towns Week. And whereas Colorado Cities and Towns Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all citizens of Colorado that they can shape and influence government through civic involvement. Now, therefore, I, Joyce Downing, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, do hereby proclaim the week of October 20th through the 26th, 2014, as Colorado Cities and Towns Week in the City of Northglenn, and encourage all residents of every community to actively participate in the events and activities planned in celebration of Colorado Cities and Towns Week in an effort to become more familiar with local government and the services it provides. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 13th day of October, 2014. Congratulations.
Thank you. We will start the introductions with the council members. Will you please state your name, the ward you represent, and answer the question, when you were a teenager, what did you want to be when you grew up? And the Youth Commission, please state your name, the school you attend, and answer the question, how has local government, or being a part of the Youth Commission, impacted you, and how does it relate to your future career or educational goals? My name is Savannah Van Dyne. I go to Northglenn High School, and being a part of the Youth Commission has made me realize that there's more that goes on in the government than I originally thought. So I guess it's widened my ideas of careers. Yeah.
Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Joyce Downing, and I'm the mayor of the City of Northglenn, and I represent all the wards in the city and the entire city. And when I was a child, I actually wanted to be a nurse when I was a child, when I was growing up. So.
Good evening. I'm Carol Dodge on City Council representing Ward 1. And when I was a child, realistically, I wanted to be a teacher, and fantasy, I wanted to be a rock star. So,
my name is Claudia, and I'm a Youth Commission member, and the school I attend is Horizon High School. And how being a part of Youth Commission has affected me is I learned more about the community and things that are going on in it, and how it's brought me more knowledge about what to do later on in life.
And I'm Marcy Whitman, and I represent Ward 3, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a librarian.
I'm Avery Anderson. I attend Mountain Range High School, and I guess being on the Youth Commission has gave me like a greater impact of what the city does, and kind of given me a closer connection with everyone in the city.
I'm Allie Denici. I go to Northglenn High School, and being a part of Youth Commission has sort of changed how I think about things because I want to be a police officer, so it's changed my perspective on how city government works.
I'm Wayne Dodge, and I represent Ward 1. When I was a child, and what I want to do when I grew up, I wanted to be a council member for Northglenn. So, I change my mind probably every week, so I can't count all the things that I wanted to be. And I still, when I grow up, I don't know what I want to do. So that's where I'm at.
I'm Peyton Larson, and I go to Horizon High School, and the local government and being part of a youth commission has impacted me because it helped me get more involved with the community, and I really want to go to college, so it'll look good on applications.
I'm Connor Mercer. I'm actually the president to the Youth Commission. I go to Pinnacle High School, and the Youth Commission has helped me by giving me connections to really good people, and it'll help me later in life.
Thank you. We will now get started with the first question. What are the similarities or differences between growing up as a student today as compared to 20 or 30 years ago?
Who wants to take that?
So how do you want to do this?
Anybody can start.
Communication is probably the biggest factor. I mean, information flows so quickly. Someone sneezes in China, and 15 seconds later, we have a flu in the United States. That's communication moves quick. That's probably the big. We didn't have that. We waited till something came out in the paper when I was a kid, or it was printed in a textbook. That was how you learned. I think in those days.
And for me, I think just to kind of go along with what Wayne is saying, but in a different vein, we didn't have computers in school. In fact, probably computers were not even invented. I don't know, because we learned out of the books, and usually books were provided by the school, and they were not the newest information that you would receive. So it was, this is so much more rapid that you guys are learning, that it's really great.
I tend to think that you guys have a lot more pressure to perform in a lot of different areas that we didn't have. I mean, I think we had pressure, but every generation, I think, feels more and more pressure to excel in so many different things and to be perfect. That would be a hard ideal to have to work towards, so pressure.
And I think you have more stress now, and you have things that you worry about in school that we didn't worry about, just in your surroundings in school, and just the stress of everything that happens in the world, let alone just in your own classrooms. And I think that's something I didn't have.
That's true. Social media really has made a big impact, I think, on the students nowadays. So.
Do you guys get to answer that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
When my mom has been talking about what she did in school, I've noticed that a lot of times she would just talk about learning out of the books, and history and government classes, they would be in the past, whereas now in our history and government classes, we're able to take the books and the lessons from the past and compare those to things that are happening in the Middle East and other places like that. And with our health classes, things like the Ebola virus, and we can compare it to current events, and I don't think that was quite as possible 20 or 30 years ago.
That's true.
My mom was telling me that when she was in high school, they had like a typing class, and now we don't really have a typing class. Like, they never teach you how to type without looking at the keyboard.
Right, is there even business? Is business even an area that you can go into in high school? Because we could do business in high school.
It's only one class though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so that's different too.
Yeah.
I feel like students are expected to learn quicker and get stuff done faster than they were 20 years ago.
I have to agree with you too, Savannah, because I personally don't like all the technology that much because it's a little too much, and it's sometimes easier for me to learn from a book than always going to different websites.
And I think the technology piece has kind of played into the pressure that you guys were talking about, that with this new technology, we're kind of expected to have things at a little bit higher level with more of that research and more of this professional setting. Like our papers need to be typed and a bit longer now that we have that ability. So I think that pressure kind of comes from the technology too, that we have, like, now that we have this ability to go a little bit higher on the high school level, that our teachers are kind of expecting that, so that adds on to the pressure that you guys were talking about.
Right, it's like you have an assignment and you have to go search out the assignment. The teacher just doesn't hand you a copy.
Yeah.
I don't even think they run copies anymore. So all the responsibility falls on you all the time. I mean, and I see that even as an adult now with technology. You have to do everything yourself. I can't go to the bank and talk to the teller. I mean, I can, but they want you to be online banking. So they want you to do everything yourself. And you guys are just feeling that at an earlier age, so.
I've also seen that even in the past couple of years since I've kind of gone up in the grades, things are shifting from more of the language and science to the STEM field, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, because back when there wasn't computers, writing papers was more important, and proper grammar, because you would write that on resumes, and now we have Microsoft Word and things like that, and autocorrect. So it's kind of shifting more into building and innovating than it is creating things, like writing.
I feel that education has shifted more towards money than it has in the past. Our funding that we get has gone down or has gone up, and that's really dependent on what kind of education we get. And then even going to college, it's like doubled or tripled since you guys went through college. And so that's kind of a disadvantage for us.
Any last additions to the question? Okay, what issues do youth face in this community?
Fitting in. You have to be, like, with school things too, you have to be excelling at this to, like, make it in college. That's what they make you think nowadays.
You know, when I was a kid, what I faced, you had to be more street smart of what was going on. Who was the bully down the street? Who were the other bullies down the block, kind of thing. And these days, I think it's your internet kind of keep an eye on it. There's cyberbullying, but also, you know, people move longer distance faster into different areas. So you have to really watch you have to be more aware of what you're doing just in your own tight neighborhood, let alone if you're going across the city. So, I mean, that was part of our goal, is that we want a safer town. We want Northglenn as a safer town. So can we deliver that product a little better each year? That would be a goal of ours. And hopefully that's the direction the Youth Commission would want to go too. But I think that's you have to be more aware, I think, these days from all angles.
And I think with issues that face the youth, even though we had drugs, you know, I think drugs have been around forever. There's a different category of drugs that you have to face nowadays, and I think you have to be very aware of what's going on in your environment and with your friends as well. You know, so I think that's a big issue for kiddos. So
I think peer pressure is a huge issue. Because like you were saying with drugs and everything, peer pressure can get you involved with a lot of stupid stuff.
Well, and even with peer pressure, it's like, are you going here, are you going there? Because you don't want to go alone and be that one person that doesn't really know anybody.
I think also involvement of youth is kind of a really big issue we have, like in the city with events like Relay for Life, Noel Northglenn, our Safe Street, things like that, but also like within the school. In student government, I see that not that many kids really want to get involved, and we don't have as big as turnouts to football games and that sort of thing as like my parents speak of, and to all of the events. So I think that can lead to issues later on of, you know, youth growing up and then not caring about their city and what kind of happens, as leading to a bigger issue. But just youth involvement, I think we all kind of want to be in our own little worlds with social media and everything, and that's gonna have issues now, but also lead to more in the future.
I think I grew up here in the community in Northglenn, and one of the things that was great for me is that I started in tiny tots with all of my kids, you know, that we grew up with, and we went to the same schools, and I think I see more that the youth is separated so much. Like, your friends move a lot, and I think you miss out on some of those connections. And then also just, I don't think you have hangouts like we used to have, like places that you could go without getting into trouble or being tempted by trouble. I don't think we have that now.
Just to feed off of the fitting in idea, I think the way that the schools are set up now, they make it so you want to be in a STEM program. And I just wonder, where do the regular kids fit in? If everyone's trying to achieve greatness and be the STEM student or a charter school student, what does that leave, and what does that say to the average kid? Does that mean you're less of a student because you don't want to be in that type of a program? I think that's a hard one to weigh for kids today too.
Good point.
Where to fit in.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Any more additions?
You know, I think youth these days they have more of a choice, where when I was a kid, and it was a smaller town than Northglenn, of course, but our choice was with the activities at the school and at the Boys and Girls Club, and that's where you got to pick where you were, if there was some, and if there was only 10 things at the Boys and Girls Club, that's what you got to do, pick from one of those 10s. And these days, I mean, just the rec center that we're in right now probably has 50 different activities at the rec center. So not counting all like the Relay for Life you mentioned and scouting in there. I mean, those are a lot of things that we didn't have the choice to do that. So you can kind of pick something towards your direction, and we kind of didn't have that. You just had to, if it was something that everybody else, and that's where your peer pressure came in, because we had peer pressure also. But if everybody was joining scouts in your neighborhood, you tended to join scouts. That's because there was nothing else to do because everybody else was there. So that you know, and it was a smaller town, so you either went with everybody or you were kind of alone. So.
Well, you know, and that just kind of brought back to my mind, I was raised in a big city. I was raised in Chicago. But even though it's a large city, we had neighborhoods. And that was, you know, you could almost think that it was like a little city. And everybody knew everyone.
Right.
All our relatives were within walking distance, which I think some youth don't have that, because all the family was in the same area. So no matter what we did, family was there to guide us and help us. Sometimes we didn't want that, but truly it was a good thing for us, you know, because we knew all the neighbors from the time we moved into the area, and like I said, all of our relatives and everybody was there. So the closeness, I think, the family ties in the neighborhood is missing nowadays.
All right, that kind of leads into, are students motivated to participate in the government process? Why or why not?
I've kind of noticed that most students aren't very motivated, and I think that's partly because there aren't any, well, there are, but not very many short-term benefits. And like we were saying before, how everything is moving faster and you get rewards faster with things like social media, we've kind of shifted our thinking to wanting things quickly and right away, and I don't think a lot of people see the immediate reward from doing activities like the Northglenn Youth Commission.
I agree with Allie. There's not really well, in 2 months you're going to receive this. It's in 4 years you get to put this on resumes, and people will see that you did do something for your community and you did change something.
And unfortunately, you're being brought up in a time when a lot of the parents are already, you know, disillusioned with government and politics, so you get to listen to their banter, and if they're downplaying government and certain things, you know, you can't help but pick up on that. So
I feel that it's harder for the youth to get involved with all the extra schoolwork that we get, and so putting aside the extra hour or extra couple hours a month is kind of difficult for us to do. And then just like the short-term benefits that was mentioned, if they don't have that, then they don't feel motivated to try it out.
And I'm wondering, with technology, if some of the things that we have in the community might not be engaging enough. And so serving on and being a part of groups may not be as enticing.
That was my thought, is how do you compete? Government's boring.
Yes.
So how do you compete with the latest video games or Facebook or something else? You just can't compete with that. I mean, as a kid, it was boring for me. I mean, when I was a kid, and looking at each one, and this is something we probably should do. When I was 15, I was mayor of a little town, so that was pretty cool that they brought in people who was the fire chief and the mayor and that kind of stuff. And it was kind of a fun thing that you actually got a hands-on to what's going on, decision making. You didn't make decisions, but you got guided through things, and it was pretty cool. So, that's maybe one way to compete. Maybe we make it more entertaining.
That's a good idea. I mean, we bring in students in the elementary school to visit and tour the city, but I think it's a good idea, if we go out to them, and do something. So, yeah, that's a good idea.
A lot of it has to do with socialization, too. I think nowadays, we're not all getting together for anything. We're all into our own agendas, devices, games, whatever it may be, and things are much more solo projects than everybody working together. And a youth commission, obviously, you guys have to work together, and your projects are long-term. I mean, you don't see, sometimes it takes you a long time to plan them, and then till you actually see it done, and what you've accomplished, it takes a while, and people want the immediate satisfaction. So, yeah, I agree with all you.
And to go along with that, a lot of people don't get the same kind of enjoyment of helping someone and seeing someone else's day get better by something you did than they would by doing something like playing a game or playing a sport or going off on your own. And a lot of times I don't think people realize that you can get the same satisfaction from doing something like that, but in a different way, and you can still do those other activities.
Do you feel like you have enough opportunities to help people and get that satisfaction?
My problem is I'm doing too many activities because I do instruments and multiple sports and then youth commission. So the more I get involved, the more opportunities I see. I just think it's difficult for people who don't make an attempt to get involved to see those opportunities because they're not continually looking for them.
To go off of what Allie said, I notice the same thing. Once you get involved, you start to realize, well, they do this, and that kind of links to that, so I can start doing that, like volunteer opportunity or something along those lines. So I think they just need a push to get motivated to get into the government process, and they'll realize, well, here's all of these different things that I can do with that.
So one thing I saw just this last week is a friend of mine, her daughter needs to do community service at her high school, and that's something that we never did. I mean, it wasn't an expectation as part of our school. Is that something that you each have to do as well? No?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's a way that they get experience.
You were saying yes, Connor. What do you have to do?
We have to do like 30 hours of community service or something
30
along those
hours.
lines.
Wow.
Is it through a special program?
No, it's just through the entire school.
Okay.
It's
And
a
so all
graduation
students,
requirement.
it's a requirement. Wow.
To letter in STEM for Northglenn, you have to have 50 hours of STEM community service. So that's like going to a hospital and working out, or even doing this counts as part of those hours. So.
And while that does encourage people to get involved and do things like that, not enough people want that letter jacket, or they don't want to be in that honor society. They don't see, again, the short-term benefits to it. So there is a way to get people involved in like maybe just a school club, and that school club participated in volunteering events, and then they saw other opportunities and things that they liked. I think that would change a lot.
Well, and as I'm listening, I also think that the youth nowadays, actually you are out working, besides, there's those teens that probably want to be part of it, but they have to work. And so, they have to give up some of the involvement in the youth committees and different things like that, so because they need the job, which is what we didn't have years ago. And the other thing that I was thinking, and it's all about how you're perceived. And a lot of times, if you're working in the government or picking certain classes, you almost let yourself open to some type of bullying because of the fact that not everybody realizes or understands what's going on, so they put you in a different category. I just think that's a big issue for everybody, and the acceptance issue.
You have to get past the stigma that being involved in community service or a government type organization
Right.
makes you a nerd, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
you're not in the cool group. So, yeah, that's more pressure for you guys to get involved in something like that.
Right.
You call me a nerd?
Maybe.
Any last comments? No. What could be improved by involving the youth in government processes?
What could be improved?
Yeah.
Well, we would know what you guys are thinking. You know, I think that's a big thing. I think especially when you, teens don't always open up to parents, but they might open up to someone else. You know, so if there was a way to become more involved in the different activities and in the different groups, then we would know what you're thinking. We would be able to figure out what you needed, you know, and how to assist in that.
Communication would change a lot. And I was sitting in my government class the other day, and we're talking about voting and different amendments, and then on smaller scale, different ordinances and stuff like that. And our government teacher brought up some of the bills and things that are being passed in this upcoming election. And at first, a lot of kids were just on their phones and not wanting to pay attention, like, oh great, another teacher talking about voting again and how that's important. But once you started bringing up the different topics and how they would affect us and the people around us, a lot of people started caring what their parents were voting for, and a lot of us had different opinions than our parents did because we have different interests and different priorities. So we noticed that once we're told or given an opportunity to see things that go on in the government like that, a lot more people care and a lot more people have opinions.
I think it's just a different perspective too. I think, you know, we're our future, and getting your input on things is really important. And for those of us that don't have kids, it's, you know, there's a distance, and I just want to be able to hear what your concerns are, what your worries are, what changes you want to see made.
Because we're making the decisions that affect your guys' future, because you're the future leaders. So we would like to know that what we're doing, we're either going in the right direction or you know, we don't see your vision at all. So we would like to know what your vision is of the future.
Like Carol said, it's something that will either change what your future's going to be, either bad or good. So it's right to make the right decisions and listen in on what's going on with the government.
I think the other thing too is we think of government as just the policy side of things, and there's a whole other side of like economic development and the parks, and I think those are things that youth can get involved in. Like, what things do you want in the community that might not be policy related, but activities and things that you want to do, and I think that's something that we could probably do better involving you in.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think the last time I met with the commission here, that we talked about you guys possibly coming in once a quarter, twice a year maybe, and bringing up ideas that you might have or what you see as a vision. And I think Carol mentioned, I'm not sure who mentioned it, but you know, what we decide now can affect you guys in the future. Or even if you don't live in this town and you move on somewhere else and raise a family, whoever made those decisions, you may be paying for those decisions. So I don't take that lightly, and I'm sure no one else here does either, that it affects people that are living here now, but also the future people. So, yeah, I'd love to see the commission have some representation there and showing up once in a while, and you know, and not just with us, what happens at a county level and the state level and federal. Not that we control any of that, but it sure would be good to hear that, because you know what, it might change my perspective on something.
That's true, but we do have the influence. I mean, you know, as teenagers, and young adults and city council people, it really doesn't matter if you have an issue. You can call whomever it is, whatever level of government it is. You can contact the local government, and usually, and I would say most of the time, local government representatives, city councils or mayors are very open to talking to you, but then as the levels increase, it's a little harder to get to talk to folks, but you can leave a message, you can talk to them, and they will hear you, because unless you tell us, we don't know what's on your mind. And I do recall us asking them to come to the meetings at least quarterly, or, you know.
We
and
talk
which
and
would
talk
be-
and they don't listen.
I know, you don't listen. No, but,
I'm
you know,
just
we
kidding.
would love to have you come and it doesn't have to be a project. I mean, just come and say, hey, this is what we've been doing, you know, for the last 6 months or so, and share with us a little bit.
Update, that would be good, an
Yeah.
update of what you're working on, and hopefully that would spark some other ideas from us too, that we could work with you.
Right.
I think with it being recorded and on Channel 8, it also gives an opportunity for you to share what you're doing as a youth commission, where the public can really see that and maybe encourage their kids to get more involved.
Mhm.
I think going back to what Marcy had said about it not just being the policies, it's more, or it can be like the parks and rec and stuff like that. It would kind of open the youth or the eyes of people. Like, we want to see this activity going on instead of the movie. We want a water fight. I don't know.
That's a
But
great idea.
just like giving their voice into what they want to see, instead of and adults saying, well, they might enjoy this, we're not really sure.
We need that.
I know we do. and-
Right, so if you, go ahead.
Well, we have 8 council members and a mayor that would love to hear from any, and not all of them could be here tonight. Everybody has prior engagement, that type of stuff, but I think they're all touchable. You can talk to every one of them. So, pretty good core of people, and yeah, I'd love to see that happen.
Mhm.
And I was at an event today, and this isn't the first time I've heard this statistic, but nowadays, people don't trust government at the federal level, they don't trust government at the state level, but their level of trust of government at a local level and a city level is high. I think the guy said today 68% compared to like 40% of state and federal. So people think that the job is getting done at the local level. So we want you guys to feel comfortable to always be able to come to us with problems, because I think the problems do get solved at this level, and we try to, and which is more we can say than we can say for state and feds. So,
But again, if we don't know what the problem is, then we can't fix it, you know, or even attempt to fix it. So you have to have this open communication with us. And
But not
we're-
even problem, just ideas.
Ideas.
Ideas,
Yeah, yeah.
right,
For sure.
yeah,
Positive things go in that
Mhm.
direction, you know?
right.
Any additional comments? What types of things does the council want to hear from the youth commission, or what could council bring forward to the youth commission?
Well, I think we kind of covered that a little bit in the last question. We just want to hear from you, you know, but we want to know what you're thinking, you know, and try to work with you and make things better. As far as what we, to bring, again, it's coming in and being very comfortable with the council and identifying maybe something that, a project that you might want to take on. A few years ago, the youth commission it actually got the skate park put in. It was a lot of fundraising, a lot of work, but it was an idea that had been brewing for many, many years, and then they just finally grappled with it and worked on it, and they were able to accomplish it. So I think that good things for the city.
I think we'd just like to hear back from the youth commission, maybe quarterly, someone come up and just say, this is what we might be, this is what we've discussed, this is what we're working on, we might need help on this, or we don't need help with this. We'd like to do this, but we don't have any funding for this, you know, whatever it might be, you know, just a little update. And I get it, because everyone's busy, everyone here is busy, you know, so it's hard, but if one person had that job of the communication with council to come in, and we have that already, and we have liaison also, so we hear quite a bit, but I think it gives you credibility showing up on camera, and there might be a few people that would like to join the commission also that, see, I didn't even know we had a youth commission. That would be a nice thing, so.
I think it goes kind of both ways, because I think council needs to look for ways that we can bring you in a little bit more and get your opinion on things, or come up with ideas of how you can get involved. So I think maybe we need to do a little bit better job of that too.
I feel that if the communication is good between the two groups, it'll be easier to talk to the council members about, this is what we're doing, what do you think about it?
And we're there to help you, so we would love to see you in there more often, and whatever you needed, we would try to help, so.
You know, and I think too, and it's not just the youth commission, but a lot of groups, they have this intimidation, you know, of the council. And we're just folks, just like everybody else, that are trying to make things better in our community. So we, you know, we're not intimidating in any respect, you know. So we want you there, you know. We usually tease you when you come in, and we have a lot of fun with it, so, yeah.
A lot of it we tease, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mainly just you.
Maybe just me? I don't think so.
No, I think a few of us do that.
Actually, that would make, you know, that maybe we should have heard, this weekend is Safe Street Halloween coming up with the
Right.
Northglenn PD. Do you guys have a booth this year, or what are you working on?
We have a cookie booth where we're all going to be dressed up in costume, and you can come up and take a cookie, decorate it with frosting and sprinkles and things like that. But we'll also have brochures set up, so if people are wondering what the Northglenn Youth Commission is, we can explain and introduce them to the different positions.
All right, good.
It's good.
Do you have something that IDs you, like a banner hanging up of who you
Yeah,
guys are?
we
The
have
same one?
one.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Any last comments? Okay, are there any current or proposed policies or laws that may impact youth that council would like to hear a youth perspective on?
I don't know that there's one that's coming down the pipeline, but we recently made an ordinance against e-cigarettes, and I'm just curious if that's something that you've seen in your schools, that you've had a problem with e-cigarettes. No?
No?
Okay, well, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Peyton, you told me you did have problems with e-cigarettes.
Yeah,
in
there
junior
was-
high.
Well, yeah, in junior high, we had a problem with some 6th graders selling them to 8th graders. And actually, the other day, I saw a kid smoking one in the middle of my health class.
Wow.
Like, no one said anything, so.
Eek.
And we did put an ordinance in that prohibits e-cigarettes, so you can always report. I think, you know, they have officers in the schools, or to your principal, or however you do that, you know, but you take a proactive stance, you know. But again, when I say that, then there's always the stigma and or the fear of retaliation. So I think that's an issue also, so.
You know, just came to me, one of the things that it would be great that you guys would be involved in, and maybe there's a thought to already do this, but staff just came to us at our meeting last night with event ideas, new signature event to be held in Northglenn. So of course, we would want your input on what you would like to see, so that they would be part of the committee. One of them would be on the committee. And I know you guys had a representative on the committee for the Webster Lake, what is that project called? I can't remember.
Plaza?
Yes, the plaza. So we had a youth commission representation on that. And I think that's a great thing to continue, that you guys are always represented with ideas for what we want to do here in Northglenn, you know. So I would love to see you guys involved with the event committee, though.
I think it's a great idea. In the events that they showed us, were presented to us, were just exciting and a lot of fun, you know, so, yeah. Would be good.
Any more additions? We kind of touched on this, but how can council or law officials better engage youth in the process of and decision making?
Pay them.
But I think, you know.
We'd have to make it
yeah.
more fun, and
Yeah.
I go back to the same thing that we probably need to get the youth involved, that the youth step in as the mayor for the day, or the police chief, or I don't know, we can probably pull off the fire chief and head of the water treatment plant and stuff like that, and those are, to get more involved, to,
Or maybe shadow each individual.
for a whole day.
For a whole day.
Then you report back and have, there's a little article in the newspaper possibly about it. The Connection would do something on it. That'd be a step in that direction. I don't know if
Right.
that's just a step, it's just one idea.
I like
And
your
I-
idea.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I've always thought that maybe having a youth representative on any board or commission, because it brings different insight to the different boards, the planning board or the Vale board or whatever it might be. You wouldn't be a voting member, probably, but at least you have the chance to give your input. And I've always thought that would be a good thing to do.
I like the idea of getting them more involved in the connection. So I know your time is maxed and you have a lot of things, but as you can attract more members to the commission, maybe there's an opportunity that someone really likes to write, and maybe they could work with Jason in our communications to have kind of a section where
Yeah,
you can
that's a good
share
one.
things that are going on and
Right.
just maybe a youth perspective.
Or maybe we could have like a contest, because in middle school, they had like this contest to see who could be principal for a day. It was pretty funny.
Sounds like a good idea.
I do think Northglenn does take a lot of steps to involve the
Bless
youth.
you.
I think we're pretty youth-oriented, and, I mean, not just the youth commission, but just involving youth in general in Northglenn. We have programs that really, call out to them to get involved. So I know the rec department really does a lot towards youth, but as a city, I think, can we make improvements there? Yes, we can, and all these ideas are good, but I think we do a pretty good job.
I think the idea of like mayor for the day and things like that would be more engaging and fun, but also like open up the government, because I think a lot of the youth view it as this government, this big like omnipotence thing that we can't really be in contact with. So having a mayor for the day or fire chief for the day, things like that, not only would make it more engaging, but just more to show them that it really is a local level, that we really can talk with you guys, and it's not a closed off thing, but that they can be involved and they can be interactive with it.
I agree with Avery. I remember in elementary school having like the firefighters come in or the police come in with their cars and showing off all their gadgets, but you don't really see that with the other branches of government. So I think that would be really cool to showcase that it's not just paperwork and boringness.
And just this roundtable right here is a great step forward with the youth, and maybe it's some ongoing thing that we keep doing, and everybody checks, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you engaging us? So we check in on each other every now and then and see if we're all doing what we need to be doing.
My advice would be to speak up. As a youth, and I came from a small town again, and they had the boards and that type of thing, and I actually sat on two. And as a kid, and I sat through the meetings speechless, because I was afraid that, they didn't want to hear from me for the first thing, which probably was not true. And the other thing, I thought whatever I said, they probably wouldn't like, so I kept my mouth shut. Well, I realize now that was probably dumb. So my thing is to speak up now. Now I'm trying to make up for this, so I talk more. So.
Any last comments? What advice do you have for young people who would like to see a change made in their community?
Don't be afraid.
I think that was my speak up thing. Yeah.
Yeah, really. I mean, it really is true. Just take that step. It's kind of scary, but once you do it, it's okay. You're more comfortable with it. And then you can become more comfortable, and then you'll do it more often. And I think you've taken the first step by being on the youth commission and doing something like this. I think this is great.
Is this an annual meeting?
We don't know yet, to be determined.
Okay.
I think too, if you're afraid to come forward on your own, always, have a buddy system. I mean, bring somebody, another friend who's passionate about what you're into, and come forward with a friend. And sometimes there's, safety in numbers, so that might make you more comfortable coming forward with an issue.
I agree with taking the first step. I think it was really scary. I remember the first meeting, I was like, should I talk? Should I not talk? But I've gotten a lot more comfortable with talking to the people and realizing that they won't reject my answers. So.
And you know what? If they do, it's okay. It really is okay, because everybody has a different opinion, and there might be somebody else in the room that's going to agree with you, and then you've got a buddy that's going to support you, and you just keep moving forward.
And like Savannah was saying about taking the first step, a lot of times it's not necessarily speaking up, but getting involved with something, because as soon as you get involved with one thing, that one thing can bring up a whole nother opportunity. That's how I found out about the Youth Commission. It's how I found out, I think, 3 out of 4 of the activities I'm doing, I got through different connections. So just by starting one thing, you may not know what you want to do or who you want to talk to yet, but it'll get there and you can get your point across. But you have to try first.
I think I would just reiterate the not to be afraid part. Like, I know you guys are all really open. I remember my first meeting, Miss Dodge wasn't there, so Mr. Dodge was there and filled in, and I just remember he was...
Sorry.
I made it through. But still, he was really open, and it was just great to meet him and talk and encourage me to keep coming back. So I don't know that all you guys would do the same thing. So I just want to encourage people to come and even try out any events in any part of the process.
And really, when you join the Youth Commission, since there isn't a set agenda of what is going to be accomplished, the ideas all come from you guys. So, come in and, throw out your wildest dream or your thoughts, because it might make a great event or a fundraiser or whatever it may be. But, we want to hear what you guys have to say. It's your baby, so you take it and you run with it.
That was like the dodgeball tournament with it was supposed to be like the dodgeball ball.
Dodgeball tournament.
I guess you did have a few bad names for that one.
Isn't that Grayson's idea?
So the advice is that we're hearing from staff on 3 possible events. We might, just to hear about what they might be. December, can anybody help me with that date?
To hear the presentation.
Presentations, yeah, it's a study session date in December, I think is what it was.
I thought it was the first meeting,
I don't know,
possibly.
we'll get the information back to the Youth Commission.
Right.
And since it involves the community, I think the Youth Commission may want to attend for that. Maybe we can put that first on the agenda and have the Youth Commission sitting in on that one, paired up with council members.
It's
a great idea.
It would be a study session.
It's a
So
study
we
session,
start at
correct.
6 o'clock, so it wouldn't be too late.
Yep. And if we could move it first thing on the agenda, I don't know if that's possible or not, I'm just throwing that out there. And maybe you don't want to come. You don't have to sit by me.
Yes, you do. Just some ideas, you don't
Yep.
have to follow them.
Nope.
It's truly just ideas.
I guess I'm interested, are there ideas of how you want to be more involved with the city?
I like the idea of us coming in and telling you guys, here's what we're doing, and if we need help, address that we would like help, or something like that, or even ask you, we're trying to weigh between these 2 options. Do you prefer, or do you think one would impact the community more than the other?
And I would enjoy doing what you guys talked about, being on, or talking to the different boards and commissions and things like that within the city that isn't just the Youth Commission. But my problem would be time restraints, and so I think it would be a good idea, but it would have to appeal to the right crowd, because they would already have to be involved, like us, to know what you have to go through to get to each thing, but you would also have to have the time and the commitment to be able to do that.
Allie just wants to be a part of CPAN, not CPAN, the teen.
The Teen Police
Police
Academy.
Academy.
Conflicts
She-
with
she
karate
wants to be
and
a-
violin.
Oh.
And she's bummed because she's too young.
But they
Alright.
change the times occasionally, so
They
you
do,
should
yeah.
talk to the police officers
Yeah.
and talk to us, and we can negotiate times, you know, 'cause they'll change things.
Pull some strings.
Pull some strings for you guys, yeah. And maybe it's just for the youth commission, they do it one time. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. That'd really be a lot of fun.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any additional questions or ideas or thoughts to put out there?
Well, for me, you know, I really like the idea of being invited to your round table. And I would really look forward to sharing and being more involved with you guys, so.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for attending and participating. There are opportunities for youth to get involved. If you are a student between the ages of 13 and 18, we would love to hear from you. You can help us give a voice to Northglenn's youth. Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you
Thanks for
very
having
much.
us. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.